Hey everybody, John Chow with Cruise Addicts here, and so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. Just want to introduce myself. I'm John Chow with Cruise Addicts, and we started a site called cruiseaddicts.com back in 1999. And tonight we have special guest Michael Consoli. He is an 8-time global top producer going back to 2014. He is the leader in the world for selling Viking, and that makes him an authority and an expert on Viking, all things Viking, and that's why you're here, I imagine. We also have the Viking Cruises group on Facebook. We have many other groups, and of course the Cruise Addicts group joining us today. But please, before you do anything, give us a like, give us a subscribe, send some stars. We really appreciate any support. I always joke I'm going to be trying to be a YouTuber one day, but thank you all kidding aside. Thank you all for joining me, and we're going to get Michael in here, and we're going to answer your Viking questions. So please either check in, give us a hello, and also ask your Viking questions. We really appreciate it. So and enough about me. We're going to get Michael here. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hey, John. Good. How are you?
Yeah, my shtick just really isn't up to par today. I think it's been a long day. But thank you so much for joining us. And can you give it, do us a favor? We've got a lot of people joining us today. We've got people still coming in the live stream. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us about your business and tell us about your history, and as far as selling travel and becoming Viking's global top producer.
Yeah, so I've been selling travel for 20 years. And, we specialize in cruises, luxury cruises, river cruises, top global producer for Viking 8 years in a row. I just really think the product is fantastic and my clients love it and keep coming back for more. So, it's a great product, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to bring such a quality experience to my clients.
Yeah, now we were talking about this earlier. So many people have different issues with travel, and what sets your business apart, your agency apart from the others? I mean, obviously you're very successful, but what sets it apart?
I mean, it's really the service level that we provide and the knowledge of all the products that we sell. So not just the Viking products, but all the travel products that we sell. We really pride ourselves on the knowledge and the service we provide. I make myself very available to my clients, and we treat their trip as if it's our own. So
right.
That means when it comes to the air, when it comes to the cabin selection, any of that. So we choose all of that based on our own experience and knowledge and what we would want to have for ourselves.
Right. Well, we've got so many people checking in here right now, and we got people asking questions. We've got Rally Creative Travel. Hey, Rally, thanks for checking in. We've got Laura Bersuter. Hello, Laura. Thanks for checking in. And we've got Gail Silverman from Facebook. We really appreciate all the comments and everybody checking. We see a bunch of, if you don't give StreamYard your permission through the Facebook group because you're kind of behind the wall of the group, this is what we see, Facebook user. But it's okay. We still appreciate you being here. And then we have one person saying they love the Great Lakes cruise. And you actually have a Great Lakes cruise coming up, don't you, Michael?
I do. We're going to do Toronto to, it's Canadian Discoveries. It's 12 nights on Octantis, October 1st from Toronto to New York. So I'm really looking forward to that. I see there's a picture of Octantis behind you. Your background is from one of the ships. Yeah.
So we've got some questions coming in here, but we've got a few more people checking in. We've got Gail, and she's coming from Peabody, Massachusetts. Hello, Gail. Thank you for checking in. And we've got other questions. So we really, really appreciate. First of all, thank you all once again. I can't say it enough. Thank you for taking the time. I know we do this last minute, but for joining us tonight. And of course, thank you, Michael, for taking your time in your busy day.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And so we're going to get in some questions. Let's go back to the top here. And we've had several users, Bill, John, and Doug, all ask questions even before we started from YouTube. So Bill said, how many cancellations will there be on the October 1st Mississippi cruise? And I heard there was some in the past, but I'm not sure about anything in the future.
Yeah, I know that they canceled some cabins on the Mississippi because the ship was not fully ready. I think it was some of the suite categories, but it's my understanding that by October 1st that they are going to be fully prepared to sail. So I don't anticipate there will be any, but there's no way really to tell. They wanted to launch the ship and get get it moving, and felt that they could, finish the cabins that were not completed while the ship was moving, so they didn't, disappoint all the guests on board those ships. So they did have to cancel some of those cabins that were not yet complete. But I have not heard anything and don't anticipate that any of the October 1st sailings will be affected. But that doesn't mean that they won't be. It's just that we haven't heard about it if they're going to be.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people in the group posting about that. There were some disappointed folks. And then we have John Blair from YouTube. Do we need to provide our COVID-19 vaccine info to Viking? And if so, how will we do that?
So for River, you do not have to provide it. It is done via Verifly, the Verifly app. You should get or be able to see the requirements on how to submit that information in the information that Viking or your travel agent sends you. But Viking utilizes Verifly to verify the vaccine whether or not the guest is vaccinated to the standard that's required. And but that is for ocean sailings only right now. River, they need to bring their vaccination cards with them, and they will verify it on board the ship or at the beginning of the tour.
Thank you. Yeah. Then we have Doug A from YouTube. How can I find out the types and cost range of excursions for a trip I'm taking in June of 2023, the British Isles Explorer itinerary?
So the costs are not yet going to be listed, but you can look at the excursions that are offered, including the included excursions and the optional excursions, by looking at the consumer site, Viking's consumer site, clicking on the British Isles Explorer itinerary, and then going to the day by day. Just click on the day, the port, and it will list the excursions that they anticipate offering, both the included and optional, so that you can plan for what you want to do. Now, I would recommend, as many guests know, and we talk about this all the time, the excursions open to you. When they do open, they open to you based on the category that you've booked. So you do want to book them the day they open. And I usually recommend to my clients that you make a list of both the included and optional excursions that you want before the sailing opens to you. And be prepared to select an alternate excursion. So pick more than one so that you can react quickly if the excursion that you're looking for is not available.
Thank you. And then we have another one. Here's a Facebook user. Will Viking change their policy requiring vaccinations?
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see them change it quickly. I think it's something that may happen down the road, but too many of the destinations still currently require vaccination. And so I'm sure that the cruise line is going to keep them. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised that there are other lines that have dropped the vaccination requirements or loosened the vaccination requirements. But I don't anticipate that Viking's going to do it very soon.
Okay, thank you. And then we've got a Facebook user heading out next week. Don't they send any more paperwork, such as hotels and air?
So you should have gotten an e-document packet from them, a final electronic document package. It usually comes about 14 days prior to departure. So, and when I say departure, I mean the departure date of the first service that Viking is offering for you. So if you're leaving early, and I should clarify, what I mean is based on your sailing date. So 14 days prior to the sailing date, they will issue your e-documents around that time. If you're leaving early and a week earlier than the cruise actually starts, then you're not going to get them until a week before you leave. So, but yes, there will be an e-document packet that will include information such as your air schedule, your hotel, the transfer information, short excursions, a complete listing of the short excursions, including the list of excursions you've selected, that type of thing. So yes, you should get that about 14 days prior to your departure date.
Excellent. So we have another question here. Lynn White from Facebook is asking, if flying into Frankfurt from the U.S. to join the Viking Ocean Cruise, originating in Istanbul. Do we go through security and customs then or when we arrive in Istanbul?
Yeah, that's a great question. And most likely you're going to go through security in both countries. So, because you're going to have to clear going through Frankfurt, you're going to have to go through passport control, and then probably have to do so again when you get to Istanbul. It's a great question, Lynn.
Yeah. All right. And Gail Silverman is saying, I'm going on an ocean cruise on Viking Star, October 14th. I'm a little jealous, Gail. What is the advantage of not choosing a specific room and waiting until you get on board?
So I think she might be referring to a cruise guarantee or a guaranteed cabin. The cruise lines sometimes sell guarantees, meaning if a category is sold out, they will oversell the category and use that guaranteed cabin to fill in the blanks. I don't really see a benefit to doing that on Viking. Some of the cruise lines offer a lower rate when you take a guarantee. Viking does not. So there really isn't an advantage to taking a guarantee on a Viking cruise, other than the fact that the term guarantee means that they guarantee you that category or better, and you will sail. So, but the cabin would not be assigned until later. But there's not necessarily an advantage to that.
Okay, let's see. We got a Facebook user. They're doing the Grand European on November 1st. How are the rivers doing? Hope you haven't addressed that yet. Nope, we have not.
We have not. So first, John, I have to say I'm highly impressed that you knew that GE meant Grand European. That is the true sign of a Viking fan. Okay. The water levels have vastly improved. We've had very little interruptions in the past couple of weeks. So I would anticipate, as normal, September, October, we usually see water levels restore to their normal level or close to the normal level, and operations to be normal. So I anticipate that will be the case going forward. And happy to see that the water levels have increased enough to eliminate the disruptions we saw weeks ago.
Yeah, and be sure to watch our video that we recorded not too long ago. It's available for replay on YouTube, Facebook, everything. It's in the groups as well, and get some information that you may have not been aware of. So another person asked about the water levels, and we've got another question here from a Facebook user. My wife and I are going on a Rhine getaway in May of 2023. What has been the experience for those who are wheelchair bound? And I know that's a touchy question, isn't it?
It is. It's so the river cruise ships, while they do have an elevator that go from decks 2 to deck 3, so from the main deck to the deck where the lounge is and that kind of thing, it does not go down to deck 1, and it does not go up to the sun deck. So the challenge is that the guests that if there's a rafting of ships that, where the ships raft together, and if the guests have to go up and over to another ship, that would be a challenge for a guest in a wheelchair. So that's something to keep in mind. However, the majority of time, Viking ships raft next to each other, so you just go from one lobby to another. But there are rare occasions where you might raft together with a non-Viking ship, and that would require going up and over and down. And to be honest, when a client calls me about a cruise with somebody who's in a wheelchair, it is difficult because, Europe is not ADA compliant. They do not have the same standards that we have here in the US, and there are challenges that presents. The buses, the motor coaches are not, the motor coaches for the tours do not have wheelchair lifts. So that is a concern. So if the guest is able to walk somewhat, then it probably won't be as much of an issue. But if they are truly wheelchair bound, it is something that would be a concern for me with my guests for those reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. I feel sick while on a cruise. Do they test me for COVID and have me stay in my room? Is the testing optional in this case? Okay, I caught up to the question there. So if someone's feeling sick, do they ask for a test, and how does that work?
So, I mean, the cruise line is only going to test the guest if the guest requests to be tested. And then at that time, depending on the country that they're in and the requirements for that country, how the quarantining, if there is quarantining, will be handled is going to be based on where they are when it happens. So, the answer to your question is if you request a test, they will give it to you. If you tell them that you're sick and you want to be tested for COVID, they will provide you the test. But at the same time, I don't think somebody is going to say, oh, he's sick, we need to test him, unless it's just very, very obvious that there's a COVID situation. So that I think is the answer to the question. Most of the time it would be at the guest request.
So we got a YouTube. We have Joyce Wells. Thank you for joining us, Joyce, from YouTube. And she's asking about the Viking Octanus. Any news on Octanus's Caribbean connection sailing October 13th, New York to Barbados? Concerned about the effect of Hurricane Fiona on the islands and getting back to the U.S. from Barbados. I love that cruise, by the way. So
yeah.
And
Joyce, I have to say, great picture, and thanks for making your name and information available for us to see, because then we can call you by name. But there isn't any information yet about that particular sailing. It is just about 3 or 4 weeks away, so I'm sure there will be more information forthcoming. Typically, we wouldn't really see an effect of this nature on an itinerary that is this far away. If there was something that would be affected by it and the itinerary needed to be changed or necessitated a change, that would definitely be communicated a little bit closer to the sailing date, just because they would want to be able to assess, if there are changes, like how those changes will affect the sailing overall. But I am excited to say that you will be getting on the ship when I get off the ship in New York. So make sure you say hello.
and I'm guessing that's most likely if she's talking about one of the. I haven't followed the weather that close, but that's an active storm, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that most likely that storm won't be around by then.
Right. But I think she's concerned that maybe it's affected some of the islands. I have not had any information on that, but if it has affected the islands, then I mean that is something that they will address in a timely manner. But usually like to see closer to the sailing date how things are affected.
Right, I see that. Yeah, might have to change a few ports, but
yeah,
I don't think the ports that maybe Puerto Rico. Obviously, went to Puerto Rico, so they'll probably change that. Let's see here. Let's see. Facebook user. Many people in the Viking forums are reporting widespread COVID among passengers. One ship said over 50% of passengers were sick by the end of the cruise. Is Viking considering reinstituting daily testing for all passengers, mandatory masking on the buses? And I have not seen that. Have you?
No, I've not seen that either. So, yeah. But I mean, look, I have not heard anything about them reinstating masking on buses or anything like that. Europe as a whole has pretty much lifted most of their COVID requirements. So I can't even imagine that would be the case. Again, not the experience that we've had with our guests, in the past few weeks. So I'm not really sure, but I do know that if there's one story on Facebook, it tends to overshadow every story on Facebook regarding, travel. I know this from the water level issues that we saw and the issue and the information, the questions that we got from, 2 incidents that were widely reported on Facebook. So, it's great. It's a great question, and I appreciate you seeking out the facts, but I don't have the facts on that particular situation. I have not heard that information.
And we've got some thank yous back to you, Michael. There's the vaccination person that asked for it was thank you, but they didn't like the answer, but they appreciated it. And Gail said thank you. And let's see here. And we have, I think, more follow-up on the Facebook user. Are ramps difficult to navigate in a wheelchair? Why is there a 22-inch width limitation on wheelchairs? Thanks.
So I'm not really sure if the guest is asking about river or ocean. So if they want to clarify that, that would be great. The 22-inch width limitation, I believe, is on ocean because it's required that the wheelchair be kept in the cabin, so it has to fit through the door of the cabin.
Yeah. Well, I know that river cruising is just really, really difficult in a wheelchair, I would think. I mean, it's hard to say that for people that might have something like that booked already, but
I
it's
mean, if they're flexible and if they understand that they have to be flexible in what they can and cannot do, I think it's definitely something that can be done, right? The dining room is accessible, the lounge is accessible, the cabin, but the cabins are not handicapped accessible. There are no handicapped accessible cabins on a river cruise ship. So that is, it really just depends, unfortunately, on the level of disability that somebody has or how wheelchair bound that guest is. That is something that we would talk through with our guests to make sure that it's something that could meet their expectations as far as the experience on board and in Europe. But if they understand that they may not be able to get off the ship on a particular day because it might be rafted next to another ship that they would have to go up and over on, then that is something that can be done. But it is not something that is easy for a guest that is physically unable to get out of a chair or walk a distance.
right. I'm not sure if they're the same person. Marksburg, Casper, Koblenz City Tour Ability. Not sure what that question is there. If you
Yeah.
if you can tell us exactly what you're asking there, we appreciate it. And then David is writing us from YouTube. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us. Why do Viking river ships raft? That's a great question.
So Viking is, they own the majority of great docking positions in a lot of these cities. And with, 70 plus ships, they have multiple ships on the rivers at any time. So, and they may have only one or two docking positions in that city. So what happens is they dock next to each other and then, move the guests through the ship next to it so that they don't have to have a separate docking location for, if they have two docking locations and they have 4 ships there, they can easily just raft them together.
Great. Let's see. And then here's a Facebook user. Any tips for the December 22nd through January 5th Auckland to Australia cruise? We are doing pre-tour and post-tour with Viking plus 2 days extra in Sydney on our own.
Yeah, I would encourage you to be vigilant about the excursions that you choose and knowing what you want to take before you go into the system and make your reservations, because that is an itinerary. I tell this to my clients all the time. There are certain itineraries where the guests are really depending on the cruise line's excursions, in the ports. And there are certain itineraries where they may not. And this is one where it would definitely be, shore excursion intensive based on the itinerary. So I would encourage you to really have a plan for booking your excursions, and would recommend that you do them as soon as they open. And I think it's very smart. You've added the extra days. It's a long flight, and you're gonna need that time to rest. So that was very smart.
Yeah. And looking through here real quick here. I found it again here. So many questions. Really appreciate it. And on that note, I just want to reiterate, please give us a subscribe on YouTube. Give us a follow. Turn on notifications on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs. Give us a like on Facebook. We really appreciate it. And of course, thank you for your comments and your questions. This is really, really great. And thanks for sticking around here. We've been talking for quite a bit now. And thank you again, Michael, for answering so many wonderful questions. And this next one's really good. They're a first-time cruiser on our Facebook, the Viking group. Their first-time cruiser going on the Rhine getaway November 13th, and so excited. Any tips for first-time cruisers, river cruisers?
Yeah, so for Rhine getaway, I mean, and when are they leaving? I didn't hear that. Oh, November 13th. Yeah. So definitely, if you're doing the Lucerne extension, I would highly recommend going on a lake cruise in Lucerne. It's really incredible. Maybe going to Mount Pilatus, to go to the top of the Swiss Alps, something that I also would not miss. Definitely take advantage if you're able to do top of Cologne, which is one of the premium tours that Viking offers, one of the privileged access tours. So and make sure you leave yourself enough time to walk around on your own in Strasbourg. It's one of my favorite cities on the itinerary. So
have very comfortable shoes. Comfortable shoes that are good on rocky surfaces, cobblestone streets and all the different things. Of course, the Marksburg Castle, and wear layer. I'd say bring layers, right, Michael? Because you never know how cold it's going to be that time of year.
Yeah, definitely smart to wear layers. And and while there will not be Christmas markets going on, because it's kind of that dead time between the end of the travel season and the beginning of Christmas markets, you'll definitely have the opportunity to purchase some great Christmas stuff in the shops throughout the cities.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous there. I love that. Ron Getaway was amazing. And Lawanda said thank you. And the Facebook user says, do I really need a negative COVID test, Michael, before traveling? I'm going on the Rhine cruise on September 30th.
Yeah, so it is not required that you have a test. It is recommended that you test yourself before you leave. It's the cruise line's recommendation that you test yourself before you leave, but it is not required.
Okay, here's another question. Facebook provides a great resource for information. Do you have any packing tips, Michael?
I'm probably the worst person to ask about packing tips, because anybody that travels with me knows that I bring way too much. So just remember that if you're going on ocean or river, complimentary laundry facilities are offered on board the ocean product, and there is a small fee for laundry on board the river product, and you certainly can take advantage of those services if you want to lower the amount of clothes that you take. I agree with John, making sure that you have layers. If you're traveling at a time that might be cold, make sure you have some sort of windbreaker or rain jacket in case it might be windy or rainy one day. But Viking provides umbrellas, so you should be good there. I tell myself when I pack to, pull everything and then divide it in half and only take half of that, but sometimes it doesn't work out for me.
Yeah, and definitely them comfortable walking shoes, because there's a lot of walking.
And I will share that I usually always tell my guests to make sure you have 1 or 2 outfits in your carry-on bag, just to make sure that you have, an outfit in case your luggage is delayed or lost. And also, don't put all of your clothes in one bag and your spouse's clothes in another. Mix the clothes up so that if one bag gets missed, then you both have something in the other bag. And unfortunately, while it happened a little bit over the summer, more than most people would like, it happens less frequently now. And but we do like to tell our guests to be prepared for that. So I would recommend, the best packing tip I could probably give you is that, to make sure you have an outfit in your carry-on and that you don't just put all your clothes in one bag, that you split them up.
Great. And I actually saw this on the group today. People are talking about pack your over-the-counter medication. And I can vouch for this. I got a cold. It was pretty significant. It was out of the blue too. Like one day you're fine, the next day you're not. And you're like, at home I take NyQuil, DayQuil, right? Well, you cannot find NyQuil and DayQuil in Germany or France. And so pack those things. I pack a little NyQuil, DayQuil, ibuprofen, of course your medicines, and everything. But those little home comforts, pack that away, because you wouldn't believe how hard it is to get your normal medications that you're used to when you're in a different land. So
yeah, we definitely always take some cold medicine, things like that, because it is a little tougher to get. And if you don't speak the language in a particular country, it might be hard to even get the equivalent of what you're looking for. So,
and we actually had my second river cruise. We had some table mates that he got sick, like he got a cold. I mean, it happens. You're traveling, and a couple of days into it, I passed him a couple of days worth of DayQuil, or a couple of doses of it. And they thanked me later on, and it's one of those little simple things where when you need it, you need it. And you don't have it, it's a nightmare. So, let's see here. So Jim Powell he followed up. Thanks, Jim. And he said the wheelchair was for the river cruises. I think about that.
So I mean, I think that the majority of the answers that we gave were regarding the river. So
to walk some. So thanks.
Okay,
Jim.
well that's great. So you'll probably be okay if the wheelchair can collapse, then you'll be okay for sure.
Good. Happy for you, Jim. You're gonna have a wonderful time. It's just, I mean, it's a beautiful. I could do river cruise every year.
Yes.
Well, thank you. They says you guys are wonderful and provide a great service. Viking customer service has decreased somewhat, in my opinion. Do I get some benefits for booking with you as I do with Viking as a repeat customer? Great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. So booking, first, I would like to clarify that booking through us there's no fee ever. We don't ever charge a fee. We're always going to provide you the same savings that the cruise line provides, whether it's the past guest savings or any promotion savings that they have at the time, as well as the 3.3% savings by paying by electronic check. All of that we still offer all of our clients. But in addition to that, we provide, excellent service. I make myself very available to you. Obviously, have plenty of information to share with you about an itinerary or be able to answer your questions. And that is the biggest benefit that we provide our guests. We treat your trip like it's our own, and that means from the airfare to the cabin choice, all of that, we help you through. So those the biggest benefits. We always will have some sort of promotional onboard credit, something small. But the real reason we want the guests to work with us is because of the service and the knowledge that we provide. And so that's the biggest benefit.
On top of him just being a really nice guy on top of it all, so.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to look at the reviews that we have on Facebook or on Google reviews or anything like that. We have excellent reviews, and I say we because it is my agency and I do handle all the bookings, but I have a team of 4 people in my office that help support those bookings and help answer my clients' questions, and just make sure that we're maintaining the excellent service level that our clients have become accustomed to having. So.
Okay, so I think this might be Jim again. He said, I can't decide between Marksburg Castle or Koblenz City Tour. Our physical ability is not an issue. Just wondering, maybe I guess it's someone else. Just wondering, do either of you prefer one over the other?
So I have to say I really enjoyed Marksburg Castle, and I would highly encourage you to do that if you're physically able to do so. It's definitely a great excursion. The Koblenz City Tour, I think, is something that was offered, started being offered a couple of years ago, just because Marksburg Castle was on the schedule and not everybody could do it. So if you're physically able to do Marksburg, I would highly encourage you. It's one of my favorite sites.
Great. Yeah, I enjoyed Marksburg Castle too. Though it's a little challenging going through the entrance, if I remember right. It's kind of a gradual walk, and it gets your attention, and it's a little rocky. You just kind of have to hold on to the wall a little bit. Be careful. Like I said, good shoes. You really need. I bought like a mild walking, hiking, a little grippy kind of shoe. So definitely a good walking shoe with a little bit of grip, because you're going to be on a lot of different surfaces. So that's what I recommend. Like I said, bring a couple pairs, and so if one doesn't work, you always have the other one. If you're into your trip, that's my opinion. Let's see here. So many questions. Thank you very much. Now here's a loaded question, Laura. Laura had to bring this up. She had to bring it up. What are the dress requirements for dining?
Yeah. So it depends on. I mean, honestly, between the two, they're both casual. I think that river is a little bit more casual than the ocean product, but there really are no dress-up nights, no jackets, no ties. No, I do encourage my clients to bring a jacket, or ladies to bring a cocktail dress or something, because you may want to do something off the ship one night. And, Europeans do have a tendency to dress up for dinner and that type of thing. So in order to be, comfortable, you may want to make sure you bring a jacket or a cocktail dress. But generally, especially on river, you wouldn't have really an opportunity to wear it. But on ocean, you might. And again, if you plan on having dinner in one of the cities, you may want to do that. But other than that, it's 100% casual. No dress-up nights, no jackets, no ties, no dresses.
Yeah, a lot of people will come back on. The way it's set up is, I see people writing about this in the groups, but if I remember, Michael, a lot of times you'll go on a tour, you get back at 6 o'clock, you've been touring all day long, and and people freshen up and maybe they change, maybe they don't, and then they go right to dinner because it's been such a long day
It's
or
been
a
a
long
long day.
afternoon. There's like gaps between the different. You can have a long day, especially if you have optional tours.
Yeah, exactly.
But people aren't focused on dressing up. I think there was one night where they kind of did. There's like isn't there like a captain's gala evening or something?
Yeah, but it's still not required or recommended that they dress up. So, but it is an opportunity where if you do want to dress up, it's a great opportunity to do so. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
people. Yeah, I think that might have been the only night.
On a 7-day cruise, a river or ocean, probably not going to have an opportunity to dress up. But if you're on a longer ocean cruise, there's probably an opportunity to dress up or go out to dinner. If you're on the Grand European or France's Finest, you may want to go out to dinner in the city, and that would be an opportunity to dress a little nicer.
Yeah. So we have another Facebook user. The MVJ says our air flight booking won't be available till February 2023 for a May tour. Can we call earlier? Would that ensure we get our seats and flights set up? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, Jim, it's a great question. Right now, and I think we could do, John, a whole thing about airfare, right? Because
Yeah.
we get a lot of questions about air, and there's a lot of different nuances with the air. Currently, what we're seeing with air is that the cruise line is requesting that the schedule won't be available until February, simply because they are trying to get caught up with what they have traveling now. And in addition to that, all of the changes that they're working with every single day. So John has heard me say this ad nauseum. I come in the morning and I have 20 to 30 schedule changes that we have to work and rework. So in order to avoid reworking them 5 and 6 times, the cruise line is saying, let's do it a little bit closer to the sailing date. So to answer your question, if you have Air Plus, you can call them. I would say, 4 months before. Right now, that would probably be safe. Maybe it will open up as we get closer to 2023. But currently, they are really, really spread thin with a huge number of res agents in the air department. They are still trying to get everything caught up and fixed for all these changes that we see every day. So that is the challenge that they have, and they want to maintain, the excellent level of customer service in the air department that they typically provide. And so they are delaying people from looking at their air until later. And I do anticipate that will open up sooner than February. So a little bit closer to your travel date. I would say 4 months, 5 months before, you could start asking for that. If you're working with an agent, like this is something that we do for our guests. We work on the air for our clients. We get them a preliminary schedule so that they don't have to sit on hold with the air department. We utilize the relationship that we have with them to help our clients get, the best schedules we possibly can. And again, it's one of those things that, the air is a huge factor in the trip for the guests. So we want to make sure we get it right, and we work very hard to do so. So if you're working with an agent, they can do that on your behalf. If you're looking for an agent, we can do it for you.
Yeah, on that note, I tell you, the group members talk about it all the time. A travel agent, normally doesn't cost you anything. It definitely doesn't cost anything to work with you. So why don't you choose to work with you? Michael's right here. You can see how he handles questions, just like he would handle his customers, like family. Let him take care of your booking if you choose to. So if you'd like to work with Michael, if you'd like to ask him a question, work with him, give him a call at 1-800-913-7245, or call him at Michael, or email him at michael@planmycruise.com. And of course, you can visit his website, planmycruise.com. I think it'd be a great idea to work with the global top producer, the highest producing agent for Viking, obviously the expert, as you can see, just a really nice person to work with. I hope you'll give him his business. Visit him at planmycruise.com. Give him a call at 1-800-913-7245. He'd love to have your business. He'd love to treat you like his family members, like he does with all his customers.
Yeah, we would love that. Thank you.
And he's just a really great person to work with, and we really appreciate having him here. I'm actually, see, I'm not just a work with Michael doing this, but I'm also a customer. We actually would cruise with him. and it was a really wonderful experience.
Thank
So, and got so many more questions here. I know we're going to be wrapping up soon, but we want to get to a few more. Doug A said, thank you very much for our time and answers. And I know we're going back up here. Excuse me for 1 second. Facebook user, what about doing tours through a third party such as, and I don't know how to pronounce that because
tour. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I have mixed feelings about third-party tours. So it depends on the vendor. We have vendors that we work with in certain cities, and we recommend to our clients. Again, this is not something that we make money on, but it's something that we have experienced, and our clients have experienced, that we've set them up over the past 20 years that I've been doing this. And so we have some great vendors in certain cities. The problem I have with third-party tours is that if the tour is late getting back, the ship is not going to be aware or not wait for that guest. And that's a real factor in some of these cities that people are touring. So it's really a judgment call on your part whether or not you are comfortable with taking that risk. I mean, look, if you have 2 hours after the ship docks and 2 hours before the ship leaves that you're going to come back, then you're probably okay. But I typically recommend, if you're going to use third party, we have some great vendors in certain cities that we recommend to our clients. One place that you certainly can look for some excellent tours is Tours by Locals, somebody like that. You can see the reviews of the tour guide that's actually going to be providing the service, and I think that's really important. So it just depends really on where you're going to do those third-party tours, whether or not it's worth stepping outside of what Viking offers. But if you're looking for strictly private tours, I would recommend working with an agent that knows where you can do that with some really reputable companies.
great, thank you for that. And we have another user saying, I'm using a wheelchair on an ocean cruise, but I can walk a short distances. Can I just fold my wheelchair through the cabin door? It's wider than 22 inches.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that you have to look at the standards that the cruise line provides, and if the cruise line, requests that it be a certain width, and I think it has to meet those requirements. Yeah, you can fold it up and take it into the cabin. There may be other places where it's limited to the 22 inches. So as long as you can stand up, get out of the chair and fold it up in those instances, I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem. I think that the 22-inch rule really is for motorized wheelchairs on an ocean ship because it does have to fit in your cabin. You cannot leave it in the hallway charging. So that is why they mentioned the 22 inches. But yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, very good. Enjoy your cruise. And then another person, any tips for South American and Chilean Fords, December 1st through 18th, 2022, especially the excursions? One of our group has some limitations on walking. Thank you, and we appreciate your site and the information that you provide.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't get into excursions and what I would recommend on an itinerary that's 18 days here, because it's just not really a great place to do that. But it would take a lot of time, in other words. So, but I would recommend, that South America, again, is just like Australia and New Zealand, one of those itineraries where the cruise line excursions are, very well taken by the guests that are on board. So you will want to do those early, make your list early, and have it prepared for when your excursions open that day. It's a big trip, so there's a lot of days to look at. So I definitely would recommend having it ready and be able to go in and click those boxes that get those excursions added to your cart right away, because everybody that's on that sailing is going to be looking for similar excursions, just because it's an itinerary where they will utilize the cruise line's excursions a lot. So
great. So we have more questions. We have booked for next April on an ocean cruise from Tokyo to Vancouver, and we're concerned that Japan may still not be open for tourists. Have you heard when they may be opening up, as we wanted to get to Tokyo a few days before the cruise?
Yeah, so we're not really sure about that, but I know that they have opened up more in the past few weeks. So I would anticipate that by April, we're going to see the world fully open, especially in that part of the world. So I think there's a very good chance you'll be going to Tokyo a few days early and enjoying a great cruise from Tokyo to Vancouver.
Sounds really nice. And Facebook user said thank you, and so did Gail. Good tip. And we've got another Facebook user. We're doing Lake Como before our Rhine getaway starts, and we're thinking of doing Verinia Express for one of the days. What are your thoughts, Michael?
I think it would be a great experience. I know that the Lake Como extension is a very popular extension before the cruise. So that's something they introduced about 4 years ago. Lake Como at the beginning of the Rhine cruise, and people are always very surprised at the proximity of Lake Como to Switzerland. So it's a great choice for an extension, and certainly a great choice if you have the time to do that experience.
Great. And here's another really good question. Any tip on medical coverage, as my wife and I are both on Medicare? We bought the insurance plan through Viking.
Yeah, so this is a question that is, I can give you a very simple answer on. Most of the time, Medicare and any medical coverage that any of us have as U.S. citizens, unless it has a specific rider for traveling outside the country, not going to provide you any coverage when you leave the country. So having an insurance plan is very important. I know that the Viking product provides medical coverage, but insurance varies by, greatly by what's offered. So I'm glad to know that you have insurance through Viking, because their policy would provide you some medical coverage while you're traveling. But we do offer, that's another benefit of working with an agent, we do offer some alternatives to the cruise lines policy, which I think may provide a lot of people with better coverage. But it's good to know that you have insurance. That's the most important thing. But Medicare typically doesn't cover anything outside the U.S.
Yeah, so you have to read the fine print, I imagine, and make sure that it's if something were to happen, that you're covered properly, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So let's see. We got another question, and the Facebook user asking about air travel. Viking did not include our middle names on our air travel docs. They wanted to charge $350 each to correct the problem and then rebook our tickets. Will we have an issue at the airport? Great question.
It's a great question. And so it's hard. Sometimes these questions are harder because you can't go back to the guest and ask them questions. But typically, when the reservation is made, the agent or whether it was a travel agent or a direct booking agent, usually asks for the names as they appear in your passport. If middle names are listed on your passport, it could be a problem at the airport if they're not there. So the change fee to correct it really should be paid by either the agent who didn't take the correct information when they made the reservation. They should cover those charges for you because it is their responsibility to make sure that the guest name appears as it does on the passport. And it is one of the reasons why Viking requires that guests complete the forms online in the My Viking Journey portal, the personal information forms, to ensure that the guest names appear as they do on your passports. Depending on the airline and where you're going, you may be able to work around that by putting the middle names in what's called the secure flight information. So while it would not appear on the ticket, it would appear in the TSA information and the secure flight information on the record. So you may want to ask if they can do it that way, and that may suffice for not having to pay the $350 fee. But to be honest with you, the agent that booked it for you really should be responsible for making sure that your names appear as they do on your passport.
Great, thank you. Now that's all of our questions we have listed right now. So we've got a couple minutes left. I think we're gonna might do a little stretch, Michael.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate it. Michael's been answering questions nonstop. If you want to get your question in, please ask below right now. Just type it there. And in the meantime, please like and follow us. Give us a subscribe. I'm still trying to be a YouTube star. Michael already is. But we really appreciate it. We thank you for your support. Facebook has a new thing about stars. You can actually send stars, and it actually helps creators like me support our channel and help us create things because it takes time and does take money and effort. We really appreciate all the support. So thank you. We really appreciate it. Any other questions? We'll be waiting for them. We don't see them up yet. We really appreciate all of you. Most people have stayed online with us through all the questions here, and we really thank you. And of course, all our live streams are actually available for replay. So please go back to Facebook or also YouTube, the Cruise Addicts channel, and you can go back and watch all the previous live streams. We go way, way back pre-COVID, where we cover everything from ocean cruises to river cruises and many other things. We plan to do much more. And we're also going to be creating podcasts for some of these, the live streams that actually can become podcasts. We're going to have those available for you, so you can listen to us. You can hear my lovely voice in the car as you're driving to work. Right, Michael?
Yep. And John, I know that I just wanted to mention one other thing that somebody asked about the packing tips, and we want to make sure that we mention that you never pack your passport or your prescription medications in your checked luggage. Always make sure you have them with you and that you keep them with you throughout the travel process. So you never want to have them separated from you. Really important. And then I get a lot of questions about carrying medications in their original bottles and, you know, whether or not that's a requirement. And we highly recommend that you do so, not just because, you know, people think that, oh, well, you know, customs is going to look at them and want to know that whether or not the medicine is this medicine or that medicine. But if you were to be, you know, on a trip and have a medical emergency, the doctors or the nurses are going to want to be able to see from your cabin what you had in your cabin for medicine, that type of thing. So you're going to want to carry those in the original containers and, you know, and make sure that you keep them with you and not in your checked luggage. So that's something that we did not mention when we talked about the packing tips. And I feel like it's something we should have shared. So.
Yeah, and you know, it reminds me of just thinking of a story from traveling internationally. You know, you're so focused on the United States, right? So I remember my big problem was I'd bring a large shaving cream dispenser, and that's not allowed. So they'd take that, and I had to buy a smaller one when I was in Heathrow Airport. But in Heathrow, we went through customs, and they were shaking everybody down, for lack of a better word. And there was an American lady there, and they were going through her container, her bag, and what she had was not allowed there. So she got through the United States, but in Europe, the sizes weren't allowed. So she had to go through everything and pare down her makeup, and she was pleading her case, but it wasn't working. So I think you have to look at the big picture as far as travel goes. And you know, when they say don't bring these things, they mean it, because they're not going to be forgiving.
That's right.
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't confuse anyone with that. But Michael love Michael's service just like I do. He is the best. And
thank you, Michael. Michael's a very good client of ours. So thank you, Michael.
We really appreciate it. Well, I think our questions might be over. We've been talking for quite a while, and we've got a lot of people watching. Once again, please give us thumbs up. Please give us a like, heart, whatever. We really appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel and everything. If you can send us some stars, we appreciate it. We both need coffee. We need coffee. But thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. Michael, any last words as far as some things? I know we covered some packing stuff. Any suggestions? Overall vision?
Nope. We love doing these live streams and answering people's questions. So you know, we're going to do them more regularly, I think, John, and you're very appreciative of the guests that have come to us from the Facebook page, and you know, very grateful for their business. And you know, if you're looking for a travel agent, we're definitely interested in helping you. We can add, you know, bring some things to the table that you wouldn't necessarily get otherwise. And again, those really are focused on service and knowledge. So we appreciate the business that we get from the page and from the YouTube videos. And I look forward to hearing from some of you to help you in the future.
Yeah, we'd love to have your business, and thank you all for tuning in to us today. I know we did this last minute, but we really appreciate it, and thank you all for enjoying everything we've been bringing you. So we'll end there. Michael, have a great evening, and until next time, happy cruising, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.